Hi, my name is Joanna Whitney. I am an intuitive artist and a student of natural law, and I'm presently going through a document called On Conflict and Consensus, a handbook on formal consensus decision making by C.T. Lawrence Butler and Amy Rothstein. And right now I am still in chapter 1. But I'm going to jump ahead to chapter 3 for a moment, because here in chapter 1, it says, before a group decides to use formal consensus, it must honestly assess its ability to honor the principles described in chapter 3. If the principles described in this book are not already present, or if the group is not willing to work to create them, then formal consensus will not be possible. So what that's basically saying is that the group cannot just get together and start talking and planning. We have been programmed under mind control from our parents to our teachers in school to our employers and our government to be followers, to not think for ourselves, to rely on an authority. And this is a violation of natural law, which is why we are going through what we're going through right now. But we have to really take it seriously and recognize that we have to learn a different way of communicating in a group in order to not create another tyranny. I'm seeing our groups split apart because we naturally rely on a leader, and someone will always step up to lead. And then what will happen is that people will be frustrated because they won't have their voices heard. They don't know how to speak up. They may be intimidated to speak up from childhood trauma, and eventually they'll just start to back off, maybe go on their phone and start texting, not paying attention anymore. And it'll all feel the same. It won't feel like it's a different kind of group. It all feels the same as everything else. And that's because of the way that we have been taught to communicate and how we make decisions in groups. What we do is we delegate our own authority to a leader, which is a violation of natural law. We cannot delegate our authority. We can work together, but it requires that we make principles be our leader, not a person, actual principles or a higher power, a creator, which we can use principles, we can use spiritual principles, and we can use prayer to guide us in a non-formal way. But we have to, in a way, principles are the higher power. You may have heard the term first things first. What that actually means is principles first, because in the old days, principles were referred to as the first things. So applying this to a group situation, the first thing we have to do in forming a group is create our first things, which is our principles or our constitution. But then we can't just let it hang on the wall and think that it's somehow governing us. Then we have to put it into action by analyzing our behavior against those principles. It's called apophatic inquiry, where we look at the principles and then we look at our behavior and we see where we are not following the principles. So that's what they're saying here. Okay, and we can look at our Constitution, the Constitution of the United States of America, for example. Like, we think that it's somehow, just because we have one, we are free. No, we actually have to embody those principles. We have to bring those principles into every interaction that we have in order to keep them alive. Otherwise, We're just going to have the principles on the wall, and then we act as a tyranny. And it doesn't work. So, and that's what we're encountering today. We're encountering an extreme example of not embodying the principles that we have decided are going to govern us. So I'm going to jump ahead for a moment to chapter 3 to look over the principles that C.T. Butler and Amy Rothstein utilize just as basic principles for how a group should treat one another. It says, foundation upon which consensus is built. For consensus to work well, the process must be conducted in an environment which promotes trust, respect, and skill sharing. The following are principles which, when valued and respected, encourage and build consensus. The first one is trust, and I'm just going to go through this one today. Foremost is the need for trust. Without some amount of trust, there will be no cooperation or nonviolent resolution to conflict. Now, I'm just going to refer back to, for example, reality television. Say Survivor, for example. Watching these shows basically undermines this concept of trust, because in those shows, each person is, they're all in a group, but they are competing with each other to survive and win $1 million. And so they pretend to be trustworthy with each other, but really in the end, they're going to have to stab each other in the back. And this kind of programming is designed to create fear in your consciousness to make you believe that this is how we are with each other. But you got to think about this, that the television show, the reality TV show Survivor, is not a real scenario. It would never happen in life. Because if we were in a situation where we had to survive together, we would need to depend upon each other to survive. There wouldn't be $1 million pot at the end for one person to stab everyone in the back. That just isn't realistic. So you have to discard these ideas that they are programming us with on TV. For trust to flourish, it is desirable for individuals to be willing to examine their attitudes and be open to new ideas. So this is about the inner monarchy, which, if we are going to be following natural law and we're going to be voluntarists, which is just the rebranding of the word anarchists, meaning that no rulers, doesn't mean there's no rules, just no rulers, right? In other words, I have an inner monarchy, and I rule myself, or my higher self rules me, like the strength card in the tarot. Like my spiritual strength comes before my worldly desires. So in a group, what that means is I can place principles before personalities. In other words, I might get annoyed by people in the group. I might be frustrated. I might feel the inner volcano because I'm impatient. I may want to hurry people along to get to the end so I can go do what I want to do. But I'm able to sit back and recognize that a process takes time, and there is no this isn't an event, it's a journey. So I'm going to have to I'm the one who's responsible for my attitude, and if I want change overall in the world, then I have to change my attitude. I'm responsible for changing my attitude and being patient with the group to allow everybody to get on the same page. Not everybody is on the same page mentally, spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, but together we can grow through our shadows and get to where we're on the same page. But it's going to require me being willing to examine my attitude if I'm impatient, and I need to be open to new ideas. And this is required for trust to flourish. Okay. Acknowledgement and appreciation of personal and cultural differences promotes trust. Okay, that is basically a spiritual principle, tolerance. Tolerance means that I recognize someone has a different point of view than me, and I support them in it. Truly, truly from my heart, support other people in being different than me and having a different point of view than me, without sarcasm. So this is going to require meditation, probably, I would imagine. It was going to require taking a look at why I get furious when other people don't agree with me, and then working through that so that I don't bring it into the group in order to create trust within the group, because this is going to be a spiritual process for everyone, a spiritual growth process. It's not just I'm getting together with my buddies to work on prepping against, the food sovereignty, or what, not against, but for food sovereignty. We are going to have a spiritual experience together just to form the group at all. And then after we have a tight community based on trust, respect, and skill sharing, then we're going to be able to make moves towards food sovereignty, or whatever our goal is as the group. Neither approval nor friendship are necessary for a good working relationship. That's something to ponder. I don't have to be friends with people in the group. I don't have to like the people in the group in order to trust them. So that's another thing that social media and the globalists have done to throw us off track. They want us to believe that if we like each other, then that equals trust. That's absolutely not true at all. I don't have to like you in order to trust you. How can I trust someone? If they keep their word, they show up on time and do the things they say they're going to do. That's what builds trust. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else besides that. That's keeping your word. I mean, remember a long time ago, back when our grandparents were alive, their word was their bond. So they kept their word. They showed up. They showed up on time, probably, and they did what they said they were going to do. They didn't have a bunch of excuses, or said they were going to do a bunch of things and then didn't show up, but you still like them. So then you say you trust them. No, absolutely not. In time, as we begin to practice these things again, we might start to like the people that we trust. But for now, we don't have to like them. But if they do what they say they're going to do, keep their word, and show up on time, then you can trust a person. By developing trust, the process of consensus encourages the intellectual and emotional development of the individuals within the group. So what this is saying is, like I just said, we get together because we see that, digital currency is coming and the digital ID. And so we're getting together to prep, and, maybe we want people in our neighborhood so we can ride a bicycle to their house, if something happens. But meanwhile, we have absolutely no clue about how to get along with each other. So this is the most important thing to do first before starting to examine the emergencies that may be coming. We're going to have to get together as a group and develop trust together And then after we have developed these principles, there's I think about 7 other principles. Then we'll be able to work as a community.